they fiercely assail. In every speech it's the villain they unveil. From racism, patriarchy they rail. Ain't known, ain't nothing, equity they prevail. Ushering in their Marxist utopias, the end game. The turmoil and strife they aim to overthrow the old, establish their claim. In the vision they abolish everything. They need capitalism for the pain of clever life. These are the four goals of the woke. In actions, words they invoke. From pushing your way to Marxist dreams in the dance of power and scheme and scheme. In every move, search and the creeds. Remember, nothing's ever as it seems. So, instrumental. Gain power and stabilize. Bring capitalism into the Marxist utopia. That's what they want. That's what they want. Abolish capitalism. These are the four goals of the woke. In actions, words they invoke. From pushing the flame and Marxist dreams in the dance of power and scheme and scheme. In every move, search and the themes. Remember, nothing's ever as it seems. So,
Well, hello, fellow Gnostic sex cultists. Happy Monday, and I'm glad to be home, back in the bustling metropolis of New Hampshire. But I have decided we're gonna do just one more day on the Groypers, okay? Because I just need to take it easy. It's been like, I got home late last night. I got home at like 1 a.m. and it's not the worst thing in the world. But Milk Tea Groyper, I was so sad I didn't see you. Like, where the hell were you, boy? Like, I didn't get to see Milk Tea Groyper. I didn't get to see Dalton. I really wanted to. Oh, am I echoing? Echoing. Hang on. Stand by. I know what the problem is. Hang on. Is that better? Can you, is that, Milk Tea Groyper, where the fuck were you? Next time you were by Nick on the main stage while we had, like, I was basically hanging, and I tried to get up close to the stage, and then like I got like part way up and I was like, this is way too crowded for me, and it's way too warm, and it's way too like, I don't know, it was like being in a rock concert, and I was like, I'm just too old to be up front at a rock concert. I did my time up front at the rock concert, okay? And so I was hanging back, in kind of like, I could see the stage and everything, but I was kind of hanging back. Well, not only did I touch Nick, but Nick turned around to give me a hug on the way out, and that was really nice. And so, yeah, I didn't just touch him, I hugged him. Yeah, did. Anyway, I did do, yeah, exactly. I'm only 29. There wasn't a mosh pit, but it was like a mosh pit type setting. Because like everyone was just crammed in, and everyone was just trying to get as close to the stage as possible to get closer. Nick and I think are basically the same height. I don't think I'm taller than him. Yeah. I was excited to get a hug from Nick. I was really excited. Anyway, I'm back. If people wanted my instant kind of gut reactions to AFPAC, you can check the stream I did. I literally did a stream at 3 a.m. on Sunday morning because I was like, I wanted to get all my thoughts about AFPAC out while it was still fresh in my head. But we're gonna do a little bit more today because, I mean, listen, man. Listen, I cannot pass up this opportunity because Keri. Oh, Keri. Oh, I can't not watch this. Keri Smith did an episode earlier today of her show in which she apparently spent an hour and a half complaining about Nick Fuentes, complaining about the Groypers. And this I think was predictable for anyone that has followed the saga of Keri Smith for like the past several years now. If you are unfamiliar, yes, Keri also hates God. We know that. If you are unfamiliar with Keri Smith, well, good for you. You are very lucky. Um, I became familiar with Keri Smith back in 2019 when she was on a show called Unsafe Space, and Unsafe Space was covering the knitting wars at the time. And Keri was actually an instrumental part of me waking up and leaving the left because I heard her story and I connected with it. And I thought we were friends until Keri made did this whole thing where she made this big pronunciation of denouncing me and blocking me and everything because apparently like I was untrustworthy. And then she went on a 2-year smear campaign about me to make everyone believe that I had borderline personality disorder, when in fact she's the one that has personality disorder, because it's always about projection. If people have questions about that, you can head over to the Substack that I was forced to write because Keri created so much bullshit for me that I actually just had to document everything. And this has everything documented, of course, with primary source receipts of every single post that Keri made about me starting in late 2020. And there are literally thousands of screenshots on this Substack. Thousands. I had to go back and take them all, because she created so much chaos for me in terms of like lying about me, like turning people against me for no good reason, just because she was jealous that my platform grew and hers didn't. That I wrote a whole Substack. It's called Surviving Keri Smith, survivingkerismith.substack.com, where everything is documented in perpetuity, because I was put into a position where I had to have something I could send to people every time Keri or her cancel horde would pop up. Like, I'd be like, no, that's not what's happening. Here's actually what's happening. And here's the documentation of what Keri's doing and what all Keri's friends are doing, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to go into a big backstory now, but suffice it to say that Keri Smith has gone out of her way to hurt me, to hurt people I care about, to disrupt my work, and is generally an insane person. And so when Keri decides to do stuff like doing a whole show about Nick Fuentes, by the way, Keri wouldn't even care about this if I wasn't there. I promise you. Keri would not even care about this if I wasn't there, if I wasn't posting about it. If it weren't for me, she would have just ignored this and gone on with her rage tweeting and whatever the fuck else she does on Twitter. But no, I was there. And I have some feelings about it, and I shared some of those feelings the other night. But because I was there, Keri has to come out forcefully against it when Keri doesn't even really care about this stuff. So I thought we would watch it. I thought we would just see a couple things that Keri has to say about it, and I thought we would watch Keri's video. But before we get into that, couple quick orders of business. Number one, I know I didn't send out the email yesterday. I was literally traveling all day. I thought I was going to be able to do... Oh, Tim Pool did a whole video about Nick? Well, shit. I'm going to have to watch that at some point. Checking in from Cedar Point. Hey, MacB. Thanks for the super chat. Yeah, Keri is probably just jealous that I hugged Nick. How long is the video Tim Pool did about him? Should we watch that too? Let me know if we should watch that too. Hang on. Yeah, maybe we'll do a double nitwits. Maybe we'll do something about how Tim is stupid as well. Anyway, so I know I didn't send out the email yesterday. I apologize. I had like a 5-hour layover in Chicago, and so I really thought I was going to be able to get the email done and out on my 5-hour layover, but the internet fucking sucked. So I apologize. Tim Pool's video is 20 minutes long. I'm going to have to gear myself up for that one. Autumn, it was one of the greatest weekends of my life, and I don't take it back. It was fucking awesome. And you know what makes it especially awesome, Autumn? The fact that you're so pissed off. Like, the fact that everyone's so pissed off. Like, listen, man, was the event the greatest event that I've ever been to in my life? No, it wasn't. I've been to some cool stuff. But the fact that everyone is so pissed off about it, it just makes it even better. It makes it even more spectacular. So, cry all your tears you want, Autumn. I don't really care. Anyway, guys, I apologize I didn't get the email out last night because the internet was gonna internet, and I apologize, and it just was what it was. But the email with the supporter perks is up right now. You can find it over on my Substack, Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. That does include a link to join me and my supporter community for a Zoom call at 7 p.m. tonight, because we do Zoom calls at 7 p.m. on Mondays and on noon on Wednesdays. So you will find the link in there. I will also be sending that out to the local supporters, stuff like that. So I just want to let people know it is out. Like, you can access the Zoom tonight. Everyone should be fine. That's it. And there'll be, and I know I said I was going to do the Gender Accelerationist podcast, the part 3. I do actually have that ready to go. Again, it was just like, it was a busy weekend. The internet sucked. I was having all sorts of problems with like uploading and stuff like that. I know I streamed, but like everything else wasn't working for some reason. And I don't really know why. And I didn't really want to troubleshoot. And so the part 3 of the Gender Accelerationist podcast is actually done. It's just not uploaded yet, just because I haven't had a chance to get to it because I've been busy. Okay, so I apologize for that. That will be going up, like hopefully later tonight, probably later tonight after I get done with the Zoom call. Anyway, I have a couple other things I want to say. I want to read you this post, because while I was not really able to use the internet from my computer from the airport, I was able to tweet from my phone. And really, that's what's important at the end of the day. And so I wanted to just give some high level thoughts about my experience at AFPAC and why, like, I'm in, man. I'm in. I'm like doubling down now. And oh, thank you, Nick. Nick sent me the video about that Tim sent about, or put, like, so guys, is Tim's video like positive or negative? Like, is it something that, because I'll do a whole separate stream about Tim later if I have to. Like, is it one of those Tim videos where it's 20 minutes long, but it's going to take me an hour and 15 minutes to respond to, just because Tim doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about? Let me know. Anyway, I want to talk about like why I'm just completely all in on the Groypers and Nick Fuentes after this weekend. Honestly, like, I was really nervous going into it, and I talked about that on the stream I did the other night right after the event. I was actually legitimately really, 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 really nervous about it. But it went so well. And I just like, I met so many good people, and I met a lot of the Groypers, and the Groypers were cool. And honestly, and I really do mean that, like there's something, and I understand this might sound weird because if you only see them online, and I don't give a fuck. Fuck you, Autumn. Fuck you. Goodbye. Go away. Tim talks over and over again about how much he disagrees with Nick Fuentes and has lots of personal anecdotes. Okay, so we need to put the Tim video aside for right now then, because I do actually want to watch Keri whining and complaining on this. I've been waiting for this for hours now, Rottweiler, and I feel like the Tim video is gonna take me longer to, like, I'll do a whole, like, I'll do like a late night stream. Tim Pool whines about Nick Fuentes or something like that. But we'll do that later, just because I feel like I'll have a lot to say on it. Anyway, I want to go back to this. I'm all in, man. I'm all in. I had a great time. It was a great event. The vibe was really good. And like what I was going to say before I was so rudely interrupted by Autumn is that I know this might sound weird if you see it kind of like from the outside, but there is something like, there is a very punk counterculture vibe to what the Groypers are doing. Like, for real, for real. There is something about it that it's like, I can't, like, it is like, it is I can't, I don't know how else to describe it other than, like, I felt like all right, so when I was in college and like right after college, I was dating a musician, and so I would end up going to like all these I was going all to all these shows. I was traveling all over with him and his band, like in Massachusetts and Connecticut, whatever. And we're not talking like world famous musicians. We're talking like guys who had bands that maybe they were like well known like in the area and in certain scenes, but it wasn't like a mass market type thing. So I used to go to all these shows and all this stuff. And so I've kind of been in these scenes before where it's like cool, and it's like you have like the more artistic people, and you have people that look at the world differently, and they're fun scenes to interact with, Bocephus, take time next time, take Joshua, he needs it. No, I don't think it would be a good idea to take Joshua. Yeah, this is actually a little bit true. The Groyper sexiness has me mystified. Wait, did this actually happen? I must have missed that. But there is actually something like, first of all, and I said this on my stream the other day, the Groypers are not like bad. Like, there's no reason the Groypers need to be incels. I'll tell you that right now. Like, the Groypers are not bad looking. They're really not. I was expecting something much different than what I found. And what I found was like a bunch of of kids that they kind of have it together. They're like, listen, I'll read this. I'm going to do this first. Like, there's like all these people. I think this is the funniest thing. Like, there are all these people that are posting pictures of the Groypers, and they're like trying to own the Groypers, and they're like making fun of them. And it's like, I'm sorry, man. Like, the Groypers look cool. The Groypers look cool. Look at them. And I was messing around with this picture. Like, they don't look uncool. I was messing around with this picture and I was like, look, if you took this pic, like, everyone's making fun of the Groypers for this, but if you took this picture and you just like cropped it and you put a filter on it, any one of these pictures could be like an album cover. Like, that's the Smiths. Are you kidding me? Like, gays for Groypers. Oh, I don't know that they'll like that as much, but I mean, yeah, like now all the Groypers need to do is like cut a hit single. But it's just so funny because like Nick's haters are like posting these pictures being like, look at all these badass security people. Well, yeah, actually, yeah. Yeah, it's a cool photo. No, I'm not acting like well, I mean, like, but you'd understand, like, these are the types of people that I hung out with when I was younger. I recognize this. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it until I was there in person, but I recognize this. This is maybe a little nostalgic for me, okay? I'm really glad to see that this type of stuff still exists. I just didn't expect to find it with Nick Fuentes and the fucking Groypers. That was a surprise. That was a surprise. Anyway, I want to go back to this. So I wrote this thing on Twitter, and I wanted to just make sure that my position was really, really clear on like why I was there, and quite frankly, why I do not apologize. And so I'm just going to read this, and we can talk about it if you want. So if you had told me a year ago I would be all in on Nick Fuentes and the Groypers, I would have laughed so hard. And people know that's true because I used to give Nick shit. And I don't think I was ever as mean to Nick as some people were, to be honest. I feel like I gave Nick a fair shake, but Nick does say things I disagree with. Nick is outlandish. Nick, he says things that maybe if you interpret them they can be interpreted in the worst possible way. Let's just but like my point is that like my track record on this is pretty clear. Like I didn't want to like Nick. Didn't want to like the Groypers. It was an accident. I didn't see this coming. And people can believe that or not, but it is what it is. Anyway, I'm a woman. I don't care if people are Jewish. I don't care if people are black. I'm not Catholic. I'm not even Christian. They say a lot of things I disagree with, and my positions on that haven't changed. And again, that's all true. I don't agree with listen, I understand, and there are degrees to this, right? Like I'm an individualist. I will look at people as like individuals. And if you are just coming to me and you're being cool, then we're going to be cool. And I don't care if you're a man or a woman or trans or non-binary or any of those things. I don't care if people are Jewish. I don't like Israel and what they're doing right now. I don't want us funding Israel. I generally do agree that that a certain group of people has way too much power in American government and American society. But that's not all Jewish people. That's a certain group at the top, right? I do not like that. If I don't think that we should be funding Israel's genocide of the Palestinians, that makes me an anti-Semite. That's bullshit. I don't like the overt censorship of speech that people disagree with. I don't like the woke cancel culture that's going on the right. I don't like any of that. But like, if just we're talking about like individual Jewish people, I don't give a flying fuck. Same with black people. Like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care what you are. I will treat you as an individual. And I think that, this is where I kind of and by the way, I especially don't like the race stuff, but I understand their position. They believe that white people are going to be replaced. They believe that white people are literally going to go extinct. And you know what? They're not wrong about the demographics. They're not wrong on this point. So I understand why they have the position they do, but I don't care. I don't care about the race stuff. Well, but this is what I'm saying. Like, there are things that I disagree with them on. Carlin Groypers care a lot if you're anything but white, straight, not in a good way, and they say they want. Well, listen. I mean, like, I understand the position that Groypers have about women in politics and women and all this stuff, but quite frankly, I wouldn't have been invited to their event if they really felt that strongly about that. That's just reality. Lauren Witzke planned the whole fucking thing. Lauren Witzke works for Nick. Lauren Witzke wouldn't be involved if they really felt that strongly about that. So and I say this in this post, but I do think that some of the positions that Nick and the Groypers take, it's almost a thought exercise as much as anything. And they do it in an outlandish way, and that's fine. But I don't think that Nick Fuentes is going to be responsible for taking away my right to vote. I don't think that Nick Fuentes really wants to do I don't believe it. And so it's like, am I going to get worried about that? No, I'm not, because I don't actually think he's going to do that. Anyway, let me continue reading this and we can talk more. There are simply things that are more important to me than these disagreements, since I think that most of the ideas Nick and the Groypers have about how to run society are thought exercises as much as anything. So you know what it is? It's kind of like when you're sitting around with your friends over not on the internet. You're just you're hanging out with your friends and you're kind of arguing, you're putting outlandish ideas out there about what if we did this? What if we did that? What if we ran the world like this? What if we ran the world like that? It's it's not meant to be a strategic fucking plan. It's banter among people who are really kind of into this stuff and have very distinct ideas about what's wrong in the world and how to fix it. And it's kind of like if you took the conversations that might happen over a coffee at a coffee shop or something like that, or just out when they're at the bar or drinking beer, well, not that the Groypers drink beer, because, well, no, some of them do, but not that, anyway, exactly, it's brainstorming ideas, it's thought exercises, it's trolling, it pisses people off, they like that it pisses people off. I mean, this is what countercultural movements do. And so the number of people who are pissed off about that thing, that's all the proof I need that this is completely on the right track, right? And I don't have to agree with them on everything in order to acknowledge that. No, they do drink. There were many, 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 many Groypers drinking the other night, I'll tell you that. Yeah, they're basically doing a bunch of what ifs. They're playing off of each other, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. People are allowed to explore crazy ideas. I don't think any of their ideas are hateful. So many people on the conservative right have advocated for a literal genocide in Palestine. Nick has never advocated for a genocide in Israel, and he could easily have after October 7th. That had been his inclination, but he didn't. And it didn't matter. He was still attacked, even though he wasn't the one being hateful. And this is one of the things that really turned me kind of in Nick's favor, because I started tuning into Nick after October 7th, expecting him to be off the fucking chain. I was there for it. I was ready. Okay. I was like, Nick Fuentes is going to peak. And guess what? He didn't. Well, he did. He did in a certain way, in that he was doing thoughtful, nuanced commentary. He wasn't calling for the eradication of Israel. He wasn't calling for the genocide of the Jews. He wasn't doing anything crazy other than saying, yeah, if we want the Palestinians to stay in Palestine, we probably shouldn't bomb the whole place. And I don't want Palestinian refugees in America. And if I don't want Palestinian refugees in America, then they need to stay in Palestine. And and they're not going to be able to stay in Palestine if Israel levels all of Gaza. That was essentially his position. And so it's kind of you're still going to attack him for that as being anti-Semitic. That didn't even make sense to me after October 7th, when so many people on the right were calling for the complete and total annihilation of Gaza. Laura Loomer said, like, glass Gaza, turn it into a parking lot. There were so many people on the still to this day saying that. So if you're calling for, like, I'm sorry, like, if you're calling for a genocide of the Palestinians, you might not be, like, literally using that word, but you're calling for all of Gaza to be destroyed. Like, go fuck yourself, man. Nothing that Nick has done is worse than that. I first started paying attention to Nick because I knew he was effective and thought he was going to be a problem for the things that I care about. Now I understand the Groypers were never the real problem. Conservative Inc. has done more damage to the issues I care about, and most in terms of curbing the impact of the radical far left, than Nick and the Groypers ever have. And that's just the truth. Republicans and conservatives have repeatedly fucked things up that could have made legitimate progress against the left. Republicans and conservatives, and I'm going to put MAGA people in this too, continually lose sight of things that matter to follow whatever the latest outrage is for likes and clicks. Republicans and conservatives and MAGA people have continually ignored things that are actually most important. They do nothing but, like, against anyone that says anything against their approved narrative. It sucks. And so if I have to look at the state of the world and and give, like, an honest assessment about what is the biggest challenge in terms of fighting back, like, people ask me all the time, what can be done about the far left? What can we do about the far left? You're showing all this stuff about the far left. What can we do about the far left? Well, the biggest challenge that is currently standing in the way of curbing the influence of the far left is the fucking conservative right, and the fecklessness and the uselessness of the conservative right. And one of the reasons they are so fucking feckless and so fucking useless is that they are completely and totally compromised by their alliance with Israel and their allegiance to Israel. And that goes above everything. And so if I have to look at reality, the biggest challenge to fighting the left isn't actually the left, it's the right. And they prove this over and over and over again. How many events have we seen conservatives holding where they're screaming socialism, socialism, socialism? We actually watch socialism on my channel, like, almost every day. And the stuff that we watch, the real socialists, the real radical revolutionary far left, conservatives have no fucking clue what's going on. They just use it to get donations. That is all it is. They have no clue. They don't understand the left at all. They don't understand the players on the left. They don't understand the major organizations on the left. They don't understand the tactics of the left. They don't ever interact with the video that's all right in front of them, even though I've been giving it to them for literally years, saying, watch this, watch this, watch this. They ignore it entirely. And then they throw these big events like, so down with socialism, or like whatever. Like, fuck you guys. You have no clue what you're talking about. That's because it's all just a performance. The donors are essentially buying theater tickets with their cash. I want people to think about this. Every single time, like a conservative, like, donates money to someone claiming to fight socialism, or buying a book from someone claiming to be anti-communist, Jesse Kelly, but has no fucking idea what he's actually talking about, they're buying entertainment. They don't care about solving the problem. They're buying entertainment. That is all this is to them. And you know what? When I started down this path of doing these deep dives into the far left 3.5 years ago, I was stupid. I was stupid, and I was naive, and I actually thought that the right cared about winning. And I actually thought that the right cared about what was actually going on, but they never did. They just wanted to be entertained. That was it. And that is what they used the left for, as an entertainment vehicle. If they solved the problem, they would not be able to get donations. They would literally be out of a job. And so they want to perpetuate the problem. They don't want to do anything about real socialism in the real world. They want to create a made-up fantasy about what this looks like that's as outlandish as absolutely possible, when in fact, the real problem is actually far worse. But it's also much more nuanced than most of them want to admit. Anyway, the reason that I am now completely 100% all in on Nick and the Groypers is they are the disruption that is necessary. They're exposing the approved narrative. It's not just about a significant number of influencers putting the needs of Israel ahead of America. Con Inc. does everything it can to suppress ideas and people they find inconvenient. They lie to their audiences all the time. They lull them into a false sense of complacency about things that matter. They smear and defame people who would disrupt their narrative. The left can never be defeated without completely dismantling the conservative right, and Nick Fuentes is the only person positioned to do that. I'm sorry. Like, that's just reality. Like, what Nick did this past weekend is actually incredible. Because he didn't even have an event. His event got canceled. He didn't even have an event. And yet, what was trending on Twitter all weekend? What message broke through? Were you hearing about how amazing Turning Point was, talking about socialism for the 785th time? The Trump speech happening at Turning Point again? Were you hearing anything? Like, I truly and sincerely have no idea what was even going on at Turning Point. Like, it's not in my feed at all. But you know what has been all over my feed? Is Nick getting kicked out of Turning Point, Nick holding a rally outside of Turning Point, Nick's event getting canceled at the very last minute, the stuff from the VIP event. Like, that's all I'm seeing. And I think that's what that was what was trending on Twitter. And so it is actually incredible that he was able to get that much buzz about something and didn't even have an event. That's amazing. And you know what? The right works harder to cancel Nick than the left does. I would bet all the money in my bank account. Listen, I'm not saying the left doesn't try to cancel Nick. Of course they do. But I would bet all the money in my bank account that the majority of the people that call into these venues complaining about Nick, that are trying to like spy on him and like everything he's doing, that are trying to dox the Groypers, I would bet all the money in my bank account more of them are coming from the right than from the left. And people should really, really think about that, because what I saw, and we're going to see some of it today because Keri Smith claims to be anti-woke when she's not. She's completely woke and always has been. Never stopped being a fucking SJW. The right loves it when Nick Fuentes gets censored or banned. They were the ones that were cheering loudest about AFPAC getting canceled. It wasn't the left. I'm not saying the left wasn't happy about it, but the right was literally cheering. They were cheering a cancellation of an event based on ideas they disagree with, and that's fucking gross. And the reason they do that is because they know how dangerous Nick is to them. Nick is way more dangerous to the right than he is to the left. The left doesn't really care about him. Like, we very rarely even hear the left talk about him. Every once in a while, if they want to bring up, like, if they want to, like, oh, a literal fascist like Nick Fuentes, but they don't really care about him. They're not doing deep dives about him. They do more videos focused on the Democrats and how much they hate the Democrats and want to bring down the neoliberals than they do on, like, Nick Fuentes. The right hates Nick because Nick is very, very dangerous to them. And I like that. And I think it's a good thing. I've spent a lot of time watching Nick's haters, and honestly, they've never given me a reason that I find compelling to disavow Nick. It's all just drama. I know a thing or two about people spreading lies and bullshit to smear you. And once it happens, it's very easy to see through it. And it doesn't hurt that some of his haters have lied about me. And if they'll lie so easily about me, they won't hesitate to lie far worse about Nick. So I want to comment on that specifically. I've heard, like, I actually have watched a bunch of Nick's haters. I watched all the streams that Ethan Ralph did about Nick after they broke up. I watched a bunch of Kino Casino. I dug in. I mean, I've seen what Milo's been posting about him. Like, I've looked around. Okay. But and I watched Jaden's stuff too. For people who don't know, Jaden, his name is Jaden McNeil. He used to be like Nick Fuentes' best friend. And I personally don't have any beef against Jaden, except that I did hear a rumor, although I didn't see it directly, I just heard a rumor. I heard a rumor that Jaden, who basically all he does on the internet now is seethe and cope about Nick because they had a breakup and like all this stuff, and Jaden was pissed off and he went and did these big exposés on the Kino Casino and all that. I watched all that just to get a sense of like what I was getting into. I heard a rumor that Jaden said that I was married to a brown pedophile. Now, I bring this up because I'm not married to someone who's brown. I'm also not married to someone who's a pedophile. What Jaden, of course, is referring to is the smear campaign that is the epic IQ test of like, if you fall for that, then you're a fucking retard. And so he's actually referring to a completely different person than the man I'm actually married to. And so my point is this, not that Jaden McNeil saying anything about me is going to hurt me in any way, but my point is this, like Jaden McNeil is one of the people who is front and center seething and coping about Nick Fuentes all day, every fucking day. He worked with Nick for a long time. He actually has like he's released information, and I don't even know how true of that any of that is, but like he has given his side of the story about what it's like to work for Nick, you know, all the time, right? If Jaden McNeil would lie about something that is so simple to disprove about me, when I'm not, like, I'm barely even involved in any of this. I'm a person of no consequence, but he goes out of his way to tell his audience I'm married to a brown pedophile. Like, if he would lie about something so simple about me, then why wouldn't he lie about Nick? Like, he has much more skin in the game to lie about Nick. He can make a ton of money lying about Nick and saying the outlandish things that people want him to say about Nick. And again, I personally had no beef with Jaden until I found out that he lied about me for no good reason. And that's the point. It's like, if one of these people on the internet is going to lie about someone like me, someone like I'm not really relevant. I have kind of like this niche thing that I'm doing. I'm not even out in their world really. If he go out of his way to lie about me, why wouldn't he lie about someone that he hates? I mean, it's a bizarre thing. Yeah, exactly. It's like a bizarre thing to lie about. So that's how I think about it. No one makes perfect decisions all the time, and I won't hold Nick responsible for the actions of other people. Also, Nick wouldn't have so many haters if he didn't have so many people that loved him. I love that the Groypers are edgelords. I love they push the bounds of speech. I love that they go out of their way to make an inappropriate joke. I love the counterculture vibe, and I didn't know that Catholic virgins in a suit and tie could be so punk. And I really do mean that. There is something just very cool about this little subculture that the Groypers have created, and I don't know that people can see it on the outside as much, but I definitely experienced that at AFPAC. And I thought that it was just fun. It was awesome. It's like something I want to be a part of, even if I disagree with them on a lot of things. It's like the only interesting thing going on. And so if they want to create a counterculture, man, I'm here for it. Listen, Wocal Distance on Twitter the other day, Wocal Distance, who is like one of the most boring, like stick up his ass, like anti-woke influencers, he was like, the left has created a counterculture and their counterculture sucks and we need to create, but people think the left is cool. And so we need people to think that the left is not cool. We have to create something that's cooler than the left. And I was like, bro, the anti-woke mob on Twitter, like Wocal Distance and James Lindsay and Deb fucking Philman and Lisa Logan, Keri Smith, who we're going to watch today, like all of those people, the anti-woke people on Twitter are the most boring fucking people imaginable. Like everyone that calls themselves a classical liberal on Twitter, and they're like Konstantin Kisin, oh, I'm going to save the world for liberal values. Even Chris Rufo I'll put into this box at this point. Chris Rufo is fucking boring. And yeah, I admire a lot of the things that the guy has done. I really, really do. But like, we're going to abolish DEI from all the like, bro, go fuck yourself. They're going to change the name to something else. You're lying to people to give them a false sense of complacency about what you're actually doing. It's like all of these people are so fucking boring, but they think they're going to create a counterculture that's going to be cooler and more compelling than what the left is doing. In order to create a counterculture, you have to remove the self-righteous stick from your ass. Yeah, conservatives who try to be cooler than the left end up looking like their creepy dad because it's not real. It's not authentic. None of these people are authentic. And this I think is why like Nick and the Groypers have been able to create something cool, because whether you like them or hate them, this is who they are. They are who they are. And they enjoy it, and it's something they have a lot of fun with, and it's kind of like like what the anti-woke people are doing and the conservatives are doing is like putting together this perfect political narrative that, you know, they want to present the right image out to the world and they are going to save the world for classical values and blah 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 blah, blah. It's all bullshit because none of them actually believe it. And the inauthenticity of it wafts off, and you cannot create something that's cool by creating a political narrative. People know when something's authentic and they know when it's not. There are truly hateful groups out there. I've had the displeasure of interacting with them. And that's true too. Like I do believe there are groups out there like again, I do not like the racial identitarian stuff. I really, really don't. I find it to be incredibly toxic. But the fact is, they're black Groypers. They're brown Groypers. Like they're Jewish Groypers. They're women Groypers. Believe it or not, there actually are. And it's like, are most of the Groypers young white men? Yeah, most of them are, but not all of them. And so if they were truly as hateful as some of these other groups, they wouldn't allow any black Groypers. They wouldn't allow any brown Groypers. They wouldn't allow any of this stuff. But they accept them. Like they don't treat them any differently. Like again, I've seen this with my own eyes. I saw it right in front of me. They don't care. And so like I can't compare them with some of the other identitarian groups that I've seen, in that there are real hateful, toxic people out there, but Nick and the Groypers are not. I mean, and listen, there's always going to be onesie and twosies, okay? I am not saying that every single Groyper in the world is perfect, because they're not. There's always, you know, going to be, in any large group of people, you're going to have some, right? I'm also not saying that everything that Nick says and does is perfect, because it's really not. But he's young and he's going to figure that out. What I am saying is I don't think they hate anyone. I think they have an idea. They have more of an idea for the values that they want, which is a nation run by white Christians, ideally in a monarchy, whatever. And you can disagree with that, but at least it's a vision. It's more than what the Republicans have. And I think the highest order in this situation is, quite frankly, burning the Republican Party and the conservative right to the ground, figuratively, because I think it's really the Republicans and the conservatives who are working against all of us. And I think that Nick and the Groypers are the only people positioned to do that. So that's how I feel about it. I liked it. I had a great time. I thought it was awesome. And I love people being all aflutter over on Twitter. I think it's great. Yeah, you compare like AFPAC to Turning Point USA, and there is no comparison. I'm sorry. Like AFPAC was 9,000 times cooler, and it didn't even happen. Anyway, those are my positions, but I want to talk about Keri, because we're going to spend some time today watching Keri and listening to her complain. Keri posted, so Nick Fuentes and AFPAC losers took their merry band of white supremacists, anti-Semites, and pedo-enabling clowns. She's referring to me when she says that, by the way. Pedo-enabling clowns to Detroit this weekend, where they got tossed out of Turning Point USA, lost their venue due to fraud. Well, I wouldn't say that it was fraud, but okay. And got thrown out of a bar after assaulting a security guard and getting Superman punched. Well, they didn't. The Groypers weren't the ones that assaulted the security guard, Keri. Couldn't have happened to a better group of degenerates. And so we're going to watch Keri's video. Look at that. Look at that thumbnail Keri made. But I want to show you some of Keri's other tweets. Look at this. Keri had all sorts of feelings about this. And again, the only reason Keri had feelings about this is because I was there. If I owned a venue and a piece of shit clown like Fuentes deceived me by having a third party rent my property, and my contract was with the third party, not him, you can bet I'd exercise my legal right. I had to bar that human garbage from my private property. No private business owners owe their association, their property, or their platform. Well, guys, guess what? Sometimes when you're planning a large event, you use an event planning service. So it seems as though what Nick and the Groypers and Lauren Witzke did was they hired a third party planning service, which, guess what, is actually a smart thing to do. Because when you are throwing a giant ass event for hopefully thousands of people, you want professionals planning the event. And I'm sorry, the stage, the pictures that Nick posted of the stage, it looked like it was going to be fucking awesome. I mean, like, obviously, it looked like it was well put together, but probably what happened is people found out the venue. They started calling the venue, being like, yo, you're hosting a white supremacist neo-Nazi. You're hosting, and then the venue freaked out and they canceled at the last minute. So in this post, Keri Smith, who has literally made her brand on being a former SJW that doesn't agree with cancel culture at all. Remember, Keri got popular because she was a former SJW that was calling out cancel culture. And now she's literally saying, when you have people that you don't like, you can cancel them and it's completely appropriate. Yeah. Keri outed herself as being able to be outsmarted by a clown in the first sentence. Exactly. She went on and on there about that. Then she said, I like the Groyper clowns often put Groyper in their handles so you can easily identify them, like pronouns in bio. Several of them have names like Canadian Groyper and Wizard Groyper, like they're all retarded, racist Care Bears. She's supposed to be a Christian. I was to understand that Keri Smith was the most good and pious Christian of all, and that she was just showing all of us how to be a good Christian. And here she is calling young men retarded, racist Care Bears because they want to go to an event where they can have conversations and speak their mind. Bro, come on, Keri, come on. Anyway, oh yeah, she's also been posting all about them. She was like replying to Andy Worski and all Keri's laughing about this. Listen, man, this picture's going around of Nick. The very best they have on Nick Fuentes right now, the very best they have is to make fun of how the guy sits. Like, really? Like, bro, you're really digging to the bottom of the barrel of things to be pissed off about when you're making fun of how someone sits. Like, you couldn't find anything else? Like, there's Tenryo. And I don't know Tenryo. I've never talked to Tenryo. Tenryo is like basically wearing a cape. I actually think this is kind of funny. Like, there's a video of Tenryo up on this balcony where his cape is like blowing in the wind like Batman. Some of the Groypers came up to me showing me this picture. They're like, the Groypers were so confused about this because they were like, they showed me this picture. They're like, Carlin, they're making fun of Tenryo, but we think he looks awesome. Do you think he looks cool? And I was like, you know what? Tenryo is doing his thing. I don't even mind it. I look at it, it's so sharp, put together. He's got a good tie. Wearing a bat. Like, you can't be mad at this. Come on. Let's see. They've got Sneeko with the chipped tooth, whereas Sneeko seemed to be pretty pleased with himself over the whole thing. And then Wurzelroot. They did get Wurzelroot, but I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna throw Wurzelroot a bone. Okay. First off, I gotta give it, like, it's not a bad suit. Wurzelroot looks much more put together than I thought he was gonna look. And I'll say this too. And like, because I did actually meet Wurzelroot in person. He was trying to avoid me, but then he ran into me in a way that he could not avoid me anymore. I will say that Wurzelroot looks less fat in person than I expected him to look. And he was nice. He probably was talking shit about me behind my back or something. I'm sure that's true. But I will throw him a bone and say, you know, he put himself together, and I have to appreciate that. I do. Okay, so like whatever. But my point is this: is like this is what you're gonna make fun of. Like you might not like. Okay, so like you want to make fun of his weight. Like I guess fine. Like a lot of people do. But the kid like has put on a full fucking suit. They're all wearing suits. They're all looking like put together. Like you're making fun of them for wearing suits. That is a good picture. They look like high-powered men who get things done. I mean, it's like you really know that they're stretching on this. There is nothing to be making fun of like any of these pictures. So, I think that's kind of silly. Anyway, I've been talking for an hour. So, should we get into Keri's video? Should we watch some of it to see Keri seething and coping about the situation? Let's see. Let's see what happened. Guys, please do remember to mount the like button for me. Mounting the like button lets YouTube know to subscribe to my content. And if you're watching on Rumble, I would appreciate a subscription as well. And I stream Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. and Saturdays at 6 p.m. for Socialism Saturday. All right, let's see what Keri had to say.
Who this weekend, so if you're not familiar, there's where should I start? It's so funny
Keri,
because when I do post about this, there's always normal people, normies, who are like, who are Groypers? Who is Nick Fuentes? Like they don't know what I'm talking about, and that's great. I think that's awesome. I think it's great that most
more
people
of them are
don't
going to know
who
now.
He is. But I am talking about him a little bit more lately because he is a racist, anti-Semitic clown who pretends to be on the right. I think he's one of these people who doesn't actually believe in anything. I think he just is a con artist and a grifter.
No,
and
Keri, tell me you've never actually listened to Nick without telling me, because if you really think that Nick Fuentes doesn't believe in anything, you have never actually listened to a word that Nick has said.
There's footage of him at January 6th, for example, encouraging people to go inside, but he was never prosecuted. So there are some people who think he's a Fed. He's some kind of agitator. I don't know if he is or not. I just think at the very least, he's not a serious person. But he's sort of, he's like this actual white nationalist, anti-Semitic clown show.
How are we defining anti-Semitic,
woke
Keri?
left likes to point to as this is what the right is like, so they can point him out and say that's what the right is like. That's the purpose that he serves. And it seems to me from casual interaction with some of his mostly young followers who call themselves Groypers.
Yeah.
It seems to me that most of them are young.
Keri, you can't call people not serious when you're wearing that hat, Keri. Your outfit, Keri, you are dressed like a fucking cowboy. Your outfit is no more serious than Tenryo's outfit. I'm sorry.
Most of them might be characterized as incels, involuntarily celibate community. If they're not young, a lot of them the older ones have a young, like sort of teenage mindset. And online, they call themselves, a lot of times on Twitter, they make it really easy to identify them because they put Groyper in their handle. So you can identify them pretty easily. It's almost like with the woke left, who are just as moronic, just as disgusting. The woke left, they like to put their pronouns in their bio. That helps you immediately identify them. Like, oh, okay, I know what religion you are. I know what kind of freak you are. It's a similar with Groypers. They put Groyper right there in the handle, so it's like, oh, thank you for making it easy for me to tell who you are. And they all have names. A lot of them in their handles, they name themselves things like Classic Groyper.
By the way, they go by those names at the events too, because they don't they are concerned about getting doxxed. They are concerned about like their privacy, but they literally do go by like their online names at their event, which I actually think is endearing.
And like Canadian Groyper, and
how dare someone call themselves Canadian Groyper?
It's like they make me think of. I said this on Twitter today because I was thinking about it. It's like they sound like retarded racist Care Bears. Like they all like coming up with their code name, like I'm Red Ranger Groyper,
Hang on. does Chief Trumpster doesn't show his face online, but I saw Chief Trumpster's face, and I'll tell you, Chief Trumpster, I said this in the stream the other night, I'll say it again, most handsome of all Groyper. Never would have guessed this in a million years. Chief Trumpster is tall. Chief Trumpster has good hair. Chief Trumpster has a face kind of like it like makes you smile. He like, so you know how like Kyle Rittenhouse kind of like always has like he has like, well, when he's in a good mood, he has like a grin on his face, and like Kyle Rittenhouse grins like with his whole face for some, like it kind of reminds me of that. Like Chief Trumpster grins with his whole face. Like he is adorable. He's a really nice guy. And so, yeah, Chief Trumpster, most handsome of all the Groypers.
I'm sure you are.
Someone's
Okay.
a retarded Care Bear.
Wizard Groyper. You know, I'm mashed potato Groyper. What about you? Like they all have these stupid
like milk tea Groyper
code names. So anyway, this is who today's stream is about, is the Groypers. So they held this weekend.
That's the biggest complaint she has. They have code names.
Called Nick Fuentes, who's like their Pied Piper, who's leading all of these misguided morons off the cliff. He organized this thing called America First conference or something. This was, from what I understand, this was the fourth one, supposed to be the fourth one. And some of the commentators I heard talking about it were pointing out that he used to be able to fool and attract people like Michelle Malkin, and I think, who's that congresswoman, MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And now, like, none of those people are fooled by him anymore. Like, he's not getting anybody like that. It's just this, bottom of the barrel
like who,
group
Keri?
of
like who, Keri?
And
like
miscreants
who?
And open Jew-hating anti-Semites, white supremacists, pedophile enablers, Islamists. It's a weird mishmash of all the rejects of society.
So Keri is upset when people are so Keri's upset that Suleiman came because he's an Islamist. Keri's upset about Jake Shields. Keri's upset about, Elijah Schaffer was supposed to be there, Isabella Moody, like her husband, like all this stuff. Keri's upset, but she's really she is most upset about me. Which is stupid because I wasn't even like, I was just I was standing in the back, bro. Like I wasn't even involved. Yeah, and like Michelle Malkin is still good friends with Nick. It's not that like she's just not doing this stuff right now, is my understanding. Yeah, he's not getting big names. Keri, Jake Shields is like 500,000. Keri, Jake Shields is much better known than you. She's referring to me when she says pedophile enabler because Keri is one of the people that started that smear campaign about me. So that's me.
Heidi. And they were supposed to be coming together for the fourth America First conference. They're gonna help America. They were doing this in Detroit this weekend. I think they probably planned it for Detroit this specific weekend because there was an actual legitimate conservative conference happening there. Turning Point USA, TPUSA had a conference going on,
an actual legitimate
to
conference.
Get attention.
So Nick renting out an event space and putting all this money into throwing on an event. That's money that he raised, by the way. Nick raised like $180,000 in the span of a couple hours on Rumble over Christmas. Like, that's not legit. You're telling me that's not legitimate? You're telling me that like someone renting a giant facility and selling thousands of tickets, that's not legitimate? You're telling me someone that was able to rally hundreds of people for a rally at the last goddamn minute outside of Turning Point, that's not legitimate, Keri? All right.
And for his retarded Care Bears assembly,
Keri's in her 40s.
He took the video cameras and he went to the TPUSA conference so that they would kick him out.
Yep.
Rightfully so, on camera, so he gets some attention for his event. So there's footage of him going to TPUSA and getting kicked out. And then apparently their venue canceled on them at the last minute. So they were not able to actually hold their loser conference. Their venue said, well, here, let's pull up some news articles. He's been doing the the faux victim, I'm a victim of cancellation on Twitter, which I find pretty disgusting and dishonorable because there are lots of people who
Keri is a member of a cult church in Texas, and this cult church, Keri and her pastor were running around saying that Keri's cult church got kicked out of their building because they were speaking out about kids being trans, and they did this whole fucking victim thing. They got James Lindsay to retweet and everything. They were like, everyone is persecuting us because we're against kids being trans. You want to know what actually happened? The lease ran out on the building, and they decided not to renew it. So Keri and her pastor in her fake Christian cult church are actually the ones that are making up fake cancellation narratives in order to raise money online and to play the victim.
are there are lots of actual cancellations still happening to people, and most of these are happening to regular people and they don't get any attention. But now you have all of these con artists and grifters out there sort of manufacturing cancellations so they can get some media attention, because his event wouldn't have gotten any media attention otherwise. If he did, the only way he could get attention was by going to TPUSA and getting.
Then how did he sell thousands of tickets? If he wasn't getting any attention, Keri, then how did he sell 2,000 tickets?
Picked out and then doing this whole dog and pony show about how the venue pulled out last minute. So Therese says, I stay far away from Detroit this weekend more than usual. Probably smart.
Yeah, you see, hang on.
Okay,
Did you see that how that woman looked? Hang on, let's go back. Look at, you're telling me, like, you like, I, like, Keri, this is a literal Karen right here. Is anyone surprised that the stuck-up older blonde lady would have a distaste for this? I'm not.
Probably smart. Okay, so, well, let's start with this. So I saw this guy. I'm not really sure who this guy is. I think he works for the new Tenant Media. His name's Taylor Hansen. So I saw him post about this and I disagree with him. We'll start with this.
Thank you, Bocephus.
He said, it doesn't matter if you love or hate Nick Fuentes. Pretty sure everyone can agree that it's insane that a venue that
Keri has Nick blocked. Of course Keri has Nick blocked. Of course she does.
Had already been paid would breach a contract in order to restrict free speech that they don't agree with. So what I said was, and by the way, there's construction still happening outside my house. So if you hear something, that's what's going on. They're rebuilding the porch today. So I decided to go live anyway. So hopefully it won't be too loud.
She just had to complain about Nick.
So I said, look, if I owned a venue and a piece of clown shit like Fuentes deceived me by having a third party rent my property, and my contract was with the third party and not with him, you can bet I would exercise any legal right I had to bar that human garbage from my private property. No private business owes you their association.
Has Keri actually given any explanation for why she's calling Nick Fuentes a piece of human garbage? Because all I've heard Keri claim in this video is Nick Fuentes is a racist anti-Semite and but has she given actually any reason for that? No one cares about your imaginary construction, Keri.
Or their property or their platform. Yeah, the venue came out and said he deceived us.
Yeah, exactly.
He committed fraud. This is alleged. This is according to the venue. But let's put this news article up. This is from the Detroit Free Press. Right-wing conference in Detroit is canceled after police respond to dispute. This thing here, they call him right-wing, by the way, and I had a friend who's an actual conservative.
He's not a conservative.
Who pointed out to me that
Nick is not a conservative.
Fuentes and a lot of them
Nick
are
does not
actually
identify
more
as a
accurately
conservative.
described as nationalist socialists. which
Yeah,
go
true.
figure. There's a shorthand word for that.
True.
But they actually believe in universal health care and all this stuff if it's only for a white ethno state. Like they want a white ethno
Well,
state
that's not exactly
and they
true.
want socialism for this white ethno state. They're national.
They want the country to be run by white Christian men. It's not necessarily that they're intolerant of everyone else. They just want the country to be run by white Christian men. Now, again, I understand their reasoning behind this. I don't particularly want women to lose their right to vote. I don't want women to be like back in the Stone Age, like Nick has said before, but I don't actually think they're serious about that. I think that they would be more than happy if they got to a point where the majority of people that were in government were, excuse me, white Christian men and not beholden to fucking Israel. That's really the big point at the moment, is that our entire government is co-opted by people who are more they're co-opted by people who are beholden to Israel before the United States. They're co-opted by people who will always make decisions in the best interest of Israel rather than what's in the best interest of the citizens of this country. That is the biggest point at the moment. And quite frankly, Thomas Massey said exactly the same thing to Tucker Carlson not too long ago.
Nationalist socialist. But the media likes to call them right wing and pretend like they represent conservatives, which they don't.
Nick has literally said he's not a conservative.
Right wing conference in Detroit is canceled after police respond to dispute. The leader of a controversial right wing group canceled their conference in Detroit, alleging they were kicked out of the Russell Industrial Center in Detroit, where he said they had plans to hold events. The move comes after Detroit police had responded to a dispute involving the group on Friday. Excuse me. Nicholas Fuentes of the America First Political Action Conference said Saturday on social media that the group was setting up the stage on Friday at the Industrial Center when people with the center told them they would not be allowed to proceed. Fuentes says they had a contract for the venue, but an official with the Russell Industrial Center said they were tricked by the group and had never had any contract directly with Fuentes or with AFPAC, with his group. The center was working with a third party, quote, a local and reputable production company that does large-scale corporate events for other reputable companies, the spokesman said. He said they would never have accepted such an event if they had known what they promote. Quote, the event was canceled due to fraudulent, knowing misrepresentation of the true nature of the event by the production company for their client and our concern of safety for our facility employees, tenants, and the surrounding communities, a spokesman for the Russell Industrial Center told the Free Press in a statement. The amount of hate mail we've been receiving and the terrible things being said towards us by the AFPAC following is disturbing, and it only affirms our decision as the right one. So
what they're saying is they canceled an event that everyone was looking forward to at the last fucking minute, and people got pissed off that they canceled their event that everyone was looking forward to. And then the place that canceled it is like, you are being pissed off that we canceled your event is proof that we were right to cancel your event in the first place. They can go fuck themselves. Yeah, this is a lot of fifis. That's all this is.
Here you can see him, Fuentes and his merry band of degenerates making his way through the crowd.
Most of them are virgins. How can they be degenerates? Listen, I hung out with these degenerates like all night. I went back to their Airbnb with them. Let me tell you how degenerate they are. They maybe had a couple of beers, and then some of them, Keri, some of them were smoking cigarettes or cigars. And they were sitting around shooting the shit and talking. Like, that's like, you're telling me this is degenerate behavior? Like, that they go out, they have a couple beers, they hang out, they talk about things that are interesting to them, they go back, they smoke a cigarette or a cigar, oh no, oh my god, and then continue to hang out? Like, this is like wholesome, like, this is like one of the most wholesome things I've ever seen.
So he ended up posting, that his event was canceled and we should all be concerned. He's a victim of cancel culture. But as it turns out, he was misrepresenting to the venue who was renting it. They didn't have a contract with him or with his group. And
Exactly.
what I found in the
So
comments
what Keri
I said,
is not does not seem to understand. So you're telling me they outsourced to a third party event planner? Most big events do this. Like, seriously, most big events outsource to a third party planner. And to be quite frank, Nick is going to sue them. And so all of this is going to come out at some point, whether or not there was fraud or if that's just what the venue's saying because everyone's pissed off at them because they canceled someone at the last minute. Like, all of this is going to come out at some point, so it's kind of moot. But using a third-party event planner, especially when you're an organization the size that they have, is actually a really smart thing to do.
you know, my opinion on this, which is we have the freedom of association. That's a part of individual
when you
rights,
have a
individual liberty.
Keri,
Um,
not when you have a fucking contract. Not when you have a contract for a major event that you cancel at the last minute. The voluntary association piece was over the minute the fucking contract was signed. Yeah, this is what I want to know. Who paid to have the event shut down? That's a really great question.
I'm not gonna, if I owned that venue, I have every right to say,
Then you
I'm
shouldn't have
not
signed the
renting it
contract in the
to
first
you.
place.
I don't like you. I don't like what you say. I don't like what you believe in. That's my right. No government should force me to give my space to
No one forced you to sign the contract in the first place. No one forced you to take his money in the first place. You had any other option up until the point where you signed the fucking contract. That is the voluntary association, Keri. Yeah, perhaps people representing the venue should have asked more questions before they signed the contract.
someone I believe to be a piece of garbage. And what I found in the comments was there were a lot of the people, I think a lot of them were Groypers, who were, in my opinion, illustrating that they're not conservatives and that they don't believe in private
They're
property and they
not
don't believe in
conservatives.
individual rights. One of them said something to the effect of, yeah, just ban the bad people, right? Just ban, that's America, just ban the bad people. And I was like, well, sir, tell me, which ones do you ban from your home? Or do you just let any asshole into your house? No answer to that, right? They don't have an answer to that. Because if you're pretending,
Yeah. I'll talk about David Duke showing up. I didn't see him there, but I heard about this. So David Duke was kicked out of the event by Jake Shields, like the minute that they knew he was there. So David Duke did show up. I heard about it from a bunch of Groypers. They were all like, did you see him? Did you see him? He got kicked out. He got kicked out. So he got kicked out almost immediately. Because he's a Fed, and everyone should know he's a Fed. And if you don't know that David Duke is a Fed and was just sent there to cause fucking problems, then that's just silly.
that you don't make choices on who you associate with and who you open up your private property to,
Yeah, I heard
then
about that.
you're a
That's dumb.
liar.
They shouldn't have done that.
We all do. We all make choices. I hope you do. I hope you don't just open the doors and every drug addict and every, degenerate off the street
Don't
just come
sign a
on in.
contract, Keri.
Are you a private property owner? Do you make those decisions for your home? Well, that's what we're talking about. You have the freedom
No,
to
it's
do that.
not.
No one can force you to say, yeah, I'm going to lend my private property or my platform or the association.
Again, Keri, don't sign a contract. Just wondering, did that guy from the stream last week pinch you on the butt and run away? No, I got no pinches on the ass at AFPAC. I did have a lot of them buying me beer. I did have a lot of them taking care of me, but no one had the, I did have one of them come up and apologize to me. He's like, I used to talk shit about you all the time. And I said, you're not doing that anymore. He's like, nope, sorry. I was like, okay. No one grabbed me on the ass because the Groypers are very polite in person. They would never do such a thing.
With my name to this person that I think is horrible. Nobody has the right to force you to do that.
No
You
one,
can
no one
associate
forced
with
him to
whom
sign a
you want to
contract.
associate with, and you can choose not to associate with people that you think are evil.
Why is he
And
evil?
everyone does it.
Why is he
The
evil?
difference is I'm
Why is he evil, Keri?
saying yes, I do it. We do it. Everyone does that.
Keri's like, yes, I believe in cancel culture. Everyone does. I
Judson
totally
says,
believe in
I think
cancel
Nick
culture.
is a federal spy op.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who think he's a Fed because of the video footage of him on January 6th, and he wasn't prosecuted, but he's clearly there on a bullhorn telling people to go inside. I don't know if he is or not. I think either way, he's deceitful. Either way, he's a con man.
Why? Why is he a con man?
Let me take a quick second to thank some of you guys. Randy, hey Randy, thanks for being here. Randy, for $4.99 super chat. Randy says, I hate Illinois Nazis, Jake Blues. I don't know that quote. Thank you for that, though. But I'm not sure. You probably gave me another music quote that went over my head. Eric Heffelfinger for $10. Thank you for the super chat. Says, when the Target Care Bears. That's what I'm going to call them from now on, by the way. They are the retarded racist Care Bears.
That's very Christian
when the
to me,
Target Care
Keri.
Bears power combines, they
Very
become the Short
Christian.
Bus Brigade, able to defeat Hassan Piker and AOC with the power of BS. Yes. Care Bears stare. They have we should come up with something like that for the Groypers. They have a Groyper. What is it? What would it be?
Oh, please do.
Something like the Care Bear stare.
Keri, please go to war with the Groypers. Please. This is everything I need in the world. I will cover this. Keri, if you want to go to war with the Groypers, I will cover it every single day. Please do this.
Bravo Dave says, oh, that quote's from the Blues Brothers movie. You got me. I haven't seen that since I was young. I should give that a rewatch. Okay.
Yeah, they're frogs,
Let's
Keri.
continue.
They're not bears.
So the reason I'm talking about this dude is because he's kind of been relegated, as I mentioned, to the social periphery, which I think is great. The last episode of this show we were talking about how it's a positive thing to bring back social shame and stigma.
Keri, when Nick goes live on Rumble, he almost instantly becomes one of the top streams on the entire platform, and he's not verified or supported by them at all. So I don't really think that he's as relegated to this social outsider status as you might think, since he can literally get thousands of people watching him on a stream within like minutes of him going live on Rumble. He has thousands of people that wait up until all hours of the night, because Nick never goes live at a standard time. So he might go live at like midnight. He might go live at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. He might even make people stay up all night because he's fallen asleep and go live at like 7 a.m. or something like that. He literally has thousands of people staying up all night just for when he goes live to hear what he has to say on his own streaming platform, not to mention the people watching on Rumble. He's gotten hundreds of thousands of new followers since he was reinstated on X. To say that Nick is like completely irrelevant and has been banished off to some far off corner of the internet, that doesn't make sense, Keri. Like, facts that are observable, that are something that anyone can look at, that actually means more than like whatever fantasy you have in your head.
When aimed in the proper direction. And the reason you do that, the reason it's a good thing, is because without social shame and stigma aimed.
Keri had about, like, when I saw this, a little bit of this live earlier today, Keri had maybe 100 people watching her. Nick has thousands of people watching him on every single stream he does. So I don't know what fantasy Keri's living in where she thinks that she is more relevant than Nick. Like, I know I'm not anywhere close to as relevant as Nick, and that's fine, man. I'm cool with that. I want to stay in my little corner of the internet. I just want to be left alone mostly. But like, I'm not out here going like, yeah, basically, right? Like, I'm not out here going like Nick Fuentes has been shamed out of polite society. Well, Keri, if that was true, he wouldn't have thousands of people watching every single stream he does. Nick has thousands of people in the waiting room at the start of each stream. Nick has all these people clipping his streams. He has all these people he has a literal army around him.
In the proper direction, punishing evil and rewarding good, without the power of social policing, if you will, with public attitudes and public opinion.
Exactly.
Then you
Keri
get
is
to a
jelly.
place where people start clamoring for authoritarianism, and they start clamoring for the government to come in and restrain people's behavior, because social
Keri
shame
has
and
you
stigma
blocked
don't
because
exist
you like
anymore.
me, obviously.
And so that's a good thing. And in the last episode, we were talking about social shame and stigma and how it should be aimed at degeneracy, at things like Pride Month, at nudity in front of children, at sterilizing and mutilating kids, at grooming kids, properly aimed at the woke left, which is an evil, racist, sexist belief system, a collectivist belief system that seeks to tear down every societal norm and tradition and to destroy the nuclear family, which is the basic.
Jaden just went live on Kick. Can someone go ask Jaden why he lied to people about me and said that I was married to a brown pedophile when I'm not married to someone who's brown, and I'm certainly not married to a pedophile, and the person that he thinks is the pedophile, who actually went to jail for something he didn't do, is not actually the person I'm married to. I'm just saying, can someone pop into Jaden's chat on Kick and just ask him? That'd be really great. I would appreciate it.
Building block of a healthy society. It should properly be aimed at the woke left. Well, it should also properly be aimed at these actual anti-Semitic,
You're the
white
woke right, Keri.
supremacist
Fuck
clown
you.
shows like Fuentes
Why is he
and
anti-Semitic?
his followers. It should
Why is he
also be
anti-Semitic?
aimed at them.
Why is
And
he
so
anti-Semitic? Wait.
I think he's been, as I said, relegated, sort of. That has been happening. He's sort of on the fringes of society. But recently, in the past year or so, I've seen more mainstream normie conservatives offering him the benefit of
Nick is
association
relevant again.
with their name.
Oh no.
The benefit of
Oh, no.
association with them, room on their spaces, in their Twitter spaces, and on their YouTube platforms.
Keri is like, people are platforming Nick and they're not platforming me because I've only been telling the same story for 4 years about how I was an SJW and then I left the left and my story has never changed and it's never evolved and I'm exactly the same person I was 4 years ago, still shilling the same fucking story. I don't know why they won't have me on their platform and they have to have this evil, racist, white supremacist instead. Maybe because he's far more interesting than you, Keri.
They have one. They've been offering him that association, and so if that's a trend that's going to continue to happen,
yes,
that
it is.
they're going to lend him some form of legitimacy, well, then I guess I should start offering my opinions on the dude and why I think that's a bad idea.
Please do.
Because I would like to keep him on the fringes. I would like to keep bad characters like that on the fringes of society.
Keri really thinks she has the power to do anything to Nick? Keri, that's delusional.
Let's bring up some clips of him.
Yes,
this is a great one.
Oh, good. Let's watch Nick.
This is one where he's upset at his own.
Can we watch the clip where I want to watch? Can someone send me this clip? I'll be really happy about it. Can we watch the clip where Nick is talking about like we should have like Chinese like ninjas on every street corner just like chopping the heads off of people that commit crimes? Because that clip is fucking hilarious.
Followers, the Groypers, for trying to downplay his racism and trying to explain to people that he is not actually racist.
That clip
and
is
so
hilarious.
He's scolding his own followers here. Let's watch this one.
Oh, good. Nick with a mustache.
Whole career, I've always felt like I would go out and say something, and then I'd get some faggoty, effeminate person who'd be there and saying, well, what he means is, and it's like, don't fuck, what I mean is what I said. Don't tell me, what he meant is, well, he's not racist. What if I am? What if I am? Is that a problem?
Okay. So that's one where he's like, don't downplay it.
Keri, way to miss the entire point.
I am actually racist. There you go. Here's another one. Now, I think this this channel that clipped this is a leftist channel, so you might see a
Oh,
second of her on
oh,
the screen.
wait. So Keri is showing leftist propaganda on her show after claiming to be an SJW that left the left. Why are you showing? She's literally playing the Young Turks. Okay.
Reacting to him, but this is where he talks about how by the way, he's perpetually single, this guy. I don't know how old he
doesn't
is.
wanna
Is
get
this in
married.
his late 20s or something? I'm not sure. But this is where he's talking about how
Why are
every
you
30-year-old
forcing
man
someone to get
wants to marry a
married?
16-year-old.
Oh, well.
I don't want to turn 30 and find some 20-year-old, 29-year-old woman that I have something in common with, and it's like,
Keri, you don't know how to use the volume on your own system. Hang on.
hey, properly aged like wine. Women don't age like wine, they age like milk. They don't age like wine. That's not how their hormones work. That's not how they work.
If you ever wondered why Nick Fuentes was single,
I want a 16-year-old who's untouched, pristine, untouched, uncorrupted, innocent. That's what we all want.
Please,
And
please.
all
I hope
16-year-olds
she
want
does.
an older guy who's like capable and strong and everything to sweep them off their feet. That's what everybody wants.
By the way, he was caught a couple months ago on his screen. I guess he was screen sharing or something, and some eagle-eyed
No,
A-loggers and
debunked.
clip channels noticed that he
Debunked,
had
Keri.
a tab with gay porn open on his computer screen. So there are all these rumors about him being closeted and actually being a degenerate, and there's rumors about a lot of people that work.
Keri, even if they hadn't debunked that, like, who would like, are you really gonna make fun of Nick if he's gay? Is that what we're doing now? Now, listen, I don't think Nick is gay. I think he might be bisexual, but like, I don't think Nick is gay. But it's kind of like it's one of those things that like, even if he was, like, are you gonna be like, so what?
The guys that work very closely with him. I don't know the truth to any of that, but people are making a lot of hay out of it.
I heard this rumor that maybe Nick was watching gay porn on his phone, and I didn't bother to look into it, and I don't know the truth about any of that. But I'm going to say it anyway because I'm being a responsible journalist on the internet because, you know, people need to know that maybe Nick had gay porn on his computer, even though they'd already debunked that, but like, whatever. Yeah. Keri Smith, another white woman who is upset by words. Ain't that the fucking truth? I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Hang on. Keri is part of the this is what I'm talking about when I say the right is more of a problem than the left. Yeah. God hates gossip, Keri. Why are you gossiping? You're supposed to be the good Christian.
It's kind of funny. He also said yeah, he wants a 16-year-old because that's when the milk is fresh.
Well,
okay. Here's where he's talking about how once we get this white Christian ethno state, he also LARPs as a Christian. That's the other thing. I can't stand.
Catholic.
It's not just that he plays the
Keri, you are the one defying the commandments right before us while claiming to be a good Christian. Nick is a Catholic.
boogeyman, and
He is allowed to do things and then ask forgiveness later. That's part of the Catholic thing.
he allows the leftist media to present him as a conservative, but he also allows the leftist media to present him as a Christian. You know, he also LARPs as a Christian.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I knew this was debunked. The trans porn on the phone was debunked, and A-Log set up a fake Twitter account and shared a video of the phone screen share. He bragged in a group chat about it that a Groyper was in. Yeah, I knew this was debunked. But it's kind of like one of those things that like, yes, I get it, but it's also like, even if it wasn't, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care what porn Nick watches on his phone. I don't care what crazy sexual fantasies Nick might have. I don't care whether or not Nick likes boys or girls or trannies or midgets or any of those other things. I don't fucking care. Why does it have any relevance at all to even what's being discussed? But yeah, I did hear that it was debunked.
And he's one of the people responsible for perverting the phrase, the very true phrase, Christ is King, and using it to mean, I hate Jewish people.
Oh, look, Keri thinks that saying Christ is King is anti-Semitic. Imagine my shock.
And hey, let me show you this before I show you the clip, because I know there's always these groypers who are like, what? That's not what it means. Yeah, it is. You guys say it right to me. You say it right to me. And so
Receipts,
you're taking
please, Keri.
something that is
Receipts,
good
please.
and positive about our Lord, Christ is King, and you're turning it upside down and you're using it to mean screw the Jews. That's disgusting. Of course, I find that reprehensible. Here's some examples. Just a few. I get hundreds of these. He's the one that started this. You shall know them by their fruits, I said. These are some of
the fact that Nick has been ratioing James Lindsay lately is hilarious. I agree. I think that my audience and the Groypers should team up against James Lindsay, because if people don't know, we were having our own little Groyper war against James Lindsay to get him to do things that we wanted him to do, and generally to annoy the shit out of him, in the same way that the Groypers have had their war with like Turning Point USA. And so if any of the Groypers ever want to like harass James Lindsay with us, we're going to be getting back to that, because James Lindsay is about to be is being a dick again now, and so I want to start that up again. Anyway, if Nick doesn't like James Lindsay, we're totally aligned on this. See, we can harass James Lindsay together. It'll be great.
Fruits of the fringe white supremacist and anti-Semitic Groyper influencers. These are their audience. This is his audience. So you can see them saying stuff like, once you become aware of international Jewry, which is a phrase he uses all the time, Jewry.
Mm-hmm. True.
It's hard not to say Christ is King just to force a shape-shifting Jew into exposing itself. Okay. Here's another.
The point of that, Keri, is that there are many Jews, online in particular, who get really pissed off anytime someone says Christ is King. And the point is to expose that some Jews get really pissed off whenever someone says Christ is King. Why would they do that, do you suppose? Why don't Jews want to allow people to say Christ is King? Yes, Deb is Jewish.
When Christ is King, every Jew.
Keri is Jewish in her behavior, so it does make me wonder.
Knee will bow. Here's another. Christ is King. Seethe harder, Jew. Oy vey. Everyone understands that saying Christ is King is anti-Semitic and therefore should not be said. Is that so? Watch this. Christ is King. Seethe harder, Jew. And then he has a video of Nick Fuentes holding up the cross.
Keri, that is literally mocking the idea that saying Christ is King is anti-Semitic. That tweet actually says the opposite of what you're saying it says.
Cross there. Christ is King. Every Jew knee will bow. What? Waking up to the truth. Scary proposition for Jews, I would imagine. Imagine being found out for the murderous liars you really are. Christ is King. So they're taking the phrase Christ is King and they're perverting it and they're purposefully misusing it in this way. And you damn right I find that to be a mockery of God. I think this is akin to mocking Jesus, putting the crown of thorns on him, mocking him, mockingly calling him a king. They're using this phrase to mean something else. It's almost like the Black Lives Matter people who say Black Lives Matter, but that's not what they mean. Black Lives Matter is not about, it's just about Black lives having value. No, it's not. It's about Marxism. It's about identitarian Marxism. And racism against white people and racism against Black people, by the way, and destroying the Black family. There's more. There's more. There's tons of these. The moment you have Christians saying Christ is King, the Jews immediately go back to slandering white people. Here's another. Christ is King. Jews be damned. They should pray for faith and forgiveness, quit their Jewish unbelief and be spared. Yet many won't. Their pride prevents it. Our Lord uses them as an example for the rest of us.
Why don't any of Keri's example have Groypers in their name? Is Keri just assuming that everyone who speaks out against Jewish people are Groypers? That person doesn't have Groyper in their name. That person doesn't have Groyper in their name. That person doesn't have Groyper in their name. No. Keri started this stream by saying the Groypers all make it so convenient for you to tell who they are by having Groyper in their name. Why don't any of these people have Groyper in their name?
That's it. Jewish. Just curious. You and your tribe have been expelled from
No
109 countries in the past. You and your fellow
No
Jews
Groyper.
ever examine your subversive and anti-Christian behavior as the provocation for your being expelled? By the way, Jewish.
And listen, maybe they are. I don't know. I don't know every Groyper on the internet, but I'm just saying that Keri has yet to show us one tweet by someone with Groyper in their name. And since we know that Keri understands that's how you identify them, I don't understand people complaining about those cool Groyper punk style album photos. Yeah, I mean, that's stupid. It's so dumb. No, wrong. Mm-mm. No, we can't be friends anymore. Mm-mm. Yeah, these aren't Groypers, Keri. Well, I know some of the Groypers don't have Groyper in their name, but like if Keri's gonna come on here and say the only way to the best way to identify Groypers is people with Groyper in their name, then she should I want to see some anti-Semitic tweets from actual Groypers that Keri can show us as examples by people with Groyper in their name. But she's not doing that.
It's going to be 110 countries soon. Christ is King. Here's another. What a relief. The Jews give me permission to say Christ is King as long as I stop noticing that Jews are destroying society. Okay. Here's a few more.
None of these people have
Sneeko,
Groyper in their name.
by the way, a Muslim, is one of the guys who, I think he's a Muslim. He works with Fuentes, and he was one of the ones in Detroit this weekend who got punched in the face. But we'll get to that in a second. So Abby Libby here correctly points out that they're saying Christ is King as code for F the Jews. She says, wake up, Christians. Violation of Commandment 3 has gone viral on X. Yeah, it has. This is when they were making it trend, and they were using it in this way, in this anti-Semitic way. They were perverting what it actually means. Here's this person. Muslims will no longer be used as a fall guy for Jews' shortcomings.
Whatever.
In this, we are brothers. Christ is King, and every knee will bow. So there's all these Muslims and Islamists who are uniting with Fuentes. That's what's hilarious. He wants to create a white Christian ethno-state, and supposedly,
yes, Keri, he sees that Muslims can actually be better allies than Jews because at least Muslims believe in Christ.
he's against degeneracy and he's a Christian, but this motley.
But is Keri like an anti-Islam person now? Is that part of her new Christian thing? Like, I don't know. Like, why does Keri care if people are Muslim?
Crew of speakers he had assembled included a lot of Islamists, avowed white supremacists, and avowed anti-Semites and pedophile defenders. He had like this crew of just like, wait, how do all these worldviews work together?
Well, perhaps if you actually listen to what he said, Keri, you would understand how it all works together. Because apart from any of the disagreements we might have, where I think we all fucking agree on is that Israel has far too much control over the people running our government, and that we should not be sending Israel billions and billions and billions of dollars. Not just the $3 billion that we send them every single year for no good reason, but the money on top of that they're using to genocide the Palestinians. And any other disagreements can take a back fucking seat until the influence of Israel over the United States government is gone, or at least severely diminished.
You know, these are just more of that white face. It's the Jews. Okay. There were tons of these. I mean, I've shared them before.
None of them are from
This
Groypers.
is what they're about. This is what his followers are about.
Let's watch more clips.
Here's where he says, if he's gonna save America and he's gonna create this white Christian ethno state, and here's where he says who's gonna be put.
Look how big Nick's mustache was there. This must have been like right before he shaved it or something.
to death in his
Like
new
almost
society.
out of control.
There is an occult element at the high levels of society, and specifically among the Jews. So many of the people that are perpetrating the lies and the destruction on the country, they are evildoers. They are people that worship false gods. They are people that practice magic or rituals or whatever. And more than anything, those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty. Straight up. And I'm far more concerned about that than I am about even.
Here's what he does: is
Keri
he takes
takes
things
that
that are
seriously.
some things that are truths, like
Keri literally takes it seriously that Nick is going to execute all non-Christians. Okay, Keri. Well, I mean, you'll be saved, Keri, because you're a Christian. I'm really the one that should be concerned about this.
I absolutely agree that a lot of people at the highest levels of power worship false gods. It's obvious whether you believe in God or not. They do, a lot of them, and they worship darkness, and they worship Satan, or they worship narcissism. If you want to put it in secular terms, they worship power, raw power. They worship hedonism. They worship alcohol and drugs and sex, perverted sex. They worship child abuse. They worship all kinds of evil. The people at the highest levels of power, absolutely. But then he'll say something that's true, and people in this upside down world where the crazy woke leftists control everything. This is how he attracts some of these young, misguided guys, teenagers, I guess, who follow him. Is they are desperate for people in the mainstream to speak the truth and to talk about this stuff. It's not allowed. Then they see a con artist, extremist like this, who's just as bad as the woke, who'll say something like that.
You're just as
And
bad
so
as
he's
the
speaking
woke,
a bit of
Keri.
truth, and then he'll go straight to give them all the death penalty. Okay, what does that even mean? For what? In the law, what kind of law are you going to write? Like, what crime have they? You have to actually identify a crime. If it's child
The fact that Keri is taking this seriously and she seriously thinks that Nick is going to execute every non-Christian, it's just like, that's the point, Keri. That's the fucking point. This is why Nick is the only person doing something cool, because all of you take everything he says seriously.
abuse, yes, I'm for that. If it, tell me what the crime is, though. Is it sexual abuse of animals, like that zoologist that's on trial in where is it, Australia? I think he should get the death penalty. I agree. But just to blanket state, like, oh, when we have our white ethnic state, Jews are going to get the death penalty. Dude, you're crazy. You're leading people off a cliff. You're like the Pied Piper, leading people off a cliff. They're so desperate for somebody to talk about what's wrong in the world, and that they're willing to follow someone else who is what's wrong in the world, who's part of what's wrong in the world.
No, Nick
Nick
is part of
Fuentes is just as
Nick Fuentes is part of what's right in the world, not what's wrong in the world.
immoral
I don't regret it.
and just as moronic as the woke left, and just as racist as the woke left. You're just picking the other side of this messed up coin. Okay, here's
Play
another
more
one.
clips of Nick.
This is
Keri.
where he says, this is how he's a useful tool for the leftist media, for the woke left. As I mentioned, they like to point to him as, this is what conservatives and Christians are like. Here's where he's celebrating something. He says he's excited. He thinks that the Republicans are becoming more racist, he thinks, and he's excited about that. So you can imagine how he's a great handmaiden for the woke left, because they love clipping him and saying, this is what Republicans are like. This is what conservative Christians are like. Here we go.
I can see the conservative movement is slowly coming back around to its implicit racism of the old days. Like I remember when Obama was president, there definitely was some thinly veiled, racism there. And sort of a xenophobia. You Muslim socialist, you're born in Kenya. And now that Ketanji Jackson Brown is a nominee, you're seeing conservatives are kind of coming, you're kind of getting a little taste of that again. And like I saw Charlie Kirk, for example. Charlie Kirk said, take a good long look at Ketanji Brown Jackson. This is what your country looks like on CRT. And a lot of liberals called them out for that. And they said, well, what exactly does that mean? What the hell does that even mean? It means, yeah, she's black. And if you're a white guy and you dream of becoming a Supreme Court justice, you're going to have to clerk for someone named Ketanji Brown Jackson. And so Charlie Kirk was like, he was like this close to saying, look at that black face. look at her black face and her name. You know, that's what your country's going to look like.
I love this video. And I say
Again, Keri is literally playing leftist propaganda on her channel while claiming that she's left the left. Milo says, until you opened my eyes, I would have never thought I would be on Nick's side, but here we are time after time these days. It's true. It's true. Listen, I disagree with Nick and the Groypers on many, many things, but there are some things in which they are correct.
that because you have
See, look, the woke left, like I said, they love clipping him. He's a very useful tool for them because they point to him.
So why are you spreading their propaganda, Keri?
And they say, yes, this is what Republicans are like. And look
Exactly.
at this, look at this avowed, white nationalist who's
Keri is 100% on the side of evil every single time. And so if you just like gravitate towards all the things that Keri hates, me more than anything else, like you're going to be just fine.
agreeing that Republicans are all racist. That's what she's saying. He knows they use him and they use
a white nationalist who's calling it for what it is, who's saying exactly what we know it to be. It's like, you can't tell me that racism, dog whistles and whatnot, that's not going on. When we people of color see it, we black people see it, and also the white nationalists, the whites.
I was going to say, I literally went to the after party with Patriot J and Bryson Gray and Bryson's wife. So Patriot J was like so excited. Bryson and his wife, Bryson like was kind of like watching, like Bryson and his wife were like hanging out with at the bar watching boxing. And Bryson Gray and I have made up for like, I blocked Bryson Gray a long time ago, but we had a moment, we've made up. I've been doing a lot of mending fences lately just because like I just don't care anymore. And so yeah, like if Nick is so racist, then why did he have Patriot J as a VIP? Why was Bryson allowed in? And I'll tell you too, I was standing next to Bryson and his wife for a while at the bar, and like it was like a line of Groypers coming up to Bryson. Bryson, I love you. You're so amazing. You're so great. I love your music. Like over and over and over again, to the point where I was like, I'm gonna go stand over somewhere else. It's like I was basically standing back there because I wanted to be kind of like, away from the fray. And like all these Groypers were coming up talking about how much they liked Bryson Gray. So if they were so fucking racist, then why would they do that?
Supremacists who are actively trying to uplift white people see it. So to be anyone else and to claim that, nope, I don't think it. I think you're reading too much into it. You're lying.
Yeah, they go hand in hand. The Groypers and the woke.
Well,
they need each.
The thing is, Lily. And listen, I met Lily too at the event, and she was nice to me at the event. And I said, you can't take the Groypers seriously. And just like Morgan Ariel. Like I said the same thing to Morgan Ariel. I was like, I was talking in DMs to Morgan Ariel, and I was like, Morgan, when they say they're going to rape you, they don't actually mean they're going to rape you. They're just guys being guys. And I said the same thing to Lily. I was like, this is just like, you just gotta like, just roll with it. Don't take it too seriously. And just like fucking Morgan Ariel, Lily took it too seriously and started shit talking the Groypers on Twitter. And said that they all needed to get laid, which is a stupid thing to say to the Groypers. Like I've said it to the Groypers before when I was trying to be a bitch. Like, but I was overtly trying to be a bitch because they were upsetting me about something. Lily was doing it, I think, in a more unironic way than I was doing it. Anyway, like if you tell the Groypers they need to go out and get laid, that's retarded. Because the Groypers want traditional marriage, 2 virgins, and blah. So I don't feel bad.
other. So a couple things from the chat. Thank you. First of all, Thomas M, who's been a member here at Deprogram for 12 months. Thank you, Thomas. Thanks for supporting Deprogrammed. I really appreciate it. He said there are grifters, and then there are grifters. Yes, there are. That word gets used. It gets misused. Like a lot of words today get misused, like liberal or woman or harm. And you have to ask for a definition of terms, and
Oh, wait,
or
Nick tweeted
racist
about
gets
it?
misused.
Hang on. What did Nick say? Hang on. Let me see this. We're about to be done with this anyway. Oh, actually, we are to be done with this. Actually, we do actually legitimately have to be done with this because I have something else I need to go do because I'm doing my community call in 4 minutes. Let me just check in and see what Nick tweeted before we go. Sorry we can't watch more of it, guys, but I do have a supporter call coming up in 4 minutes. Let's see what Nick had to say. Nick said, and I think we've seen enough of Keri's seething and coping to get a basic Maison sen. The only moral sexuality is between a married husband and wife. Women are only fertile when they're young, and they should be married young. Children should be raised by their loving mothers, so the primary role of women should be to care for their children in their home. Listen, man. I understand this worldview. Now, this is not necessarily the worldview that I have, but I understand why they have this worldview. And, like, am I going to fault... I mean, honest to God, am I going to fault young men for, like, wanting to have a non-psychotic wife that loves them, that wants to have kids young, that raises the kids to not be psychotic, that maybe even homeschools the kids so they don't have to go through public school? Am I going to fault them for that? No, I'm not. I'm sorry. So this is probably like, this is a stupid thing to be upset about, is the general point. All right, guys, that's all we have for today. I've got a community call coming up in 2 minutes. Thank you for hanging out with me and dragging Keri, and maybe we'll do Tim Pool later. We'll have to see. But I'm back. We're going to get back into socialism tomorrow. And that's all I have for right now, guys. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.